Hello, non-gender specific citizens of America. It's time for story time with Serenity. Today, I will be reading something very special for you. The White House Guide for Today's American Living Under the Biden Regime. It has been written on behalf of the Biden regime and features some very lovely drawings by liberals close to the White House. This guide will help you better understand and conform to the new American communism paradigm. All these new changes during the Biden regime, no matter how welcome, can be so perplexing. So this handy new guide will provide you with some simple instructions to help you get up to speed and conform. This guide has been written in a simple format for the comprehension of progressive pseudo-intellectuals, and also designed as a fun activity and coloring book to hold the attention of woke adult children. This wonderfully written guide includes a quiz at the end to test your newfound logic so you can achieve the highest level of conformity. There's even a dose of hate to make it fulfilling and worthwhile for liberals. Are you ready? The first and most important rule is obey. Be sure to stay within the confines of the lines of the illustration when you are coloring in this book, and, more importantly, stay within the confines of the guidance of the Biden regime. Always obey the Biden regime. Obey mainstream news authorities. Watch White House-approved propaganda on mainstream news for frequent updates on what the regime wants you to believe. Obey all instructions given to you by the regime, even when, especially when, it doesn't make sense. Which brings us to the next rule. No critical thinking allowed. It is punishable by fines and or confinement in an Iron Maiden or casket. If you witness anyone thinking unapproved thoughts, you must report them without delay to the thought police, the only police that matter in the Biden regime. Always dismiss any critical thinking and reject any rational viewpoints presented to you. This especially includes any data, proof, and verified research findings. In fact, just forget about thinking altogether. Allow the regime to do it for you. They thought of everything to make your life the easiest for them. Obey the benevolent regime. Remember, everything they say and do is for your own good and your protection. 81 million people recognize the regime cares and therefore voted for Biden, even though he had no campaign strategy, nor any campaign at all. That's because Joe Biden is such a swell guy, and everyone knew it. He is the most popular U.S. president of all time. He is a special man, the anointed one. Never forget. Learn to comprehend what Dictator Biden is saying, or at least means. When he mutters and it doesn't make sense, take the mandated course in your community to learn how to translate. Report to the authorities anyone who speaks negatively of the Biden regime. Attack them with a bike lock and a sock if you have one handy. It's recommended you have one on you at all times to knock some sense into nonconformists when you are confronted by them. Conform. conform. That's an important lesson. Reject individuality. Be inclusive. Be progressive. Be a wokeitarian, always. Freedom is bad for you. It's like poison. Socialism is good for you. It's like an antidote for poison. Go green. Don't exercise. Your extra breathing releases additional CO2, which adds to the climate crisis. Use solar power and electric vehicles. Don't worry about recycling. That no longer matters. Don't eat burgers. They're made of cows. Cows fart and release CO2. Therefore, if you eat burgers, polar ice caps will melt and we will all drown, which is a bad thing, usually. Common sense is for losers who are stupid enough to eat their own boogers. Reject free thought. It's like lima beans. Yuck. Hate others that don't think like your regime-approved thinking standards. Cancel them, or stick your fingers in your ears when they're talking and repeatedly utter gibberish. Hate Trump. Look at that. What a wonderful picture. That was drawn by Hunter Biden. Hate Trump. He's a deplorable white supremacy capitalist rebel that is foolish enough to think Americans should be free to choose what they think is best for them. What an absurd idea. Obey, obey. Obey your ruler, Biden. He knows best. This drawing was drawn by Ashley Biden. Wow, quite a family effort in this nice guide. That's special. Be sure not to stare at Biden's adult diaper bulge behind his trousers, or your eyeballs may be scooped out of your skull by Secret Service. Reject the Constitution. It's a dusty old document full of bad ideas and makes no sense. It was written by a bunch of old dead racist guys who wore capris and powdered wigs that were consuming peyote and committing their delusional thoughts to parchment with antiquated quills and then signing it. And you can color these in. Yeah. In fact, if you wanted, you could take a black crayon and you could just scribble over Trump and just make him disappear. You could take a white crayon and make Biden more youthful. You could make Trump's hair green, and then he would look woke and cool. Abort your fetuses, even at the moment of birth. If you don't, the world will be overpopulated and will lead to our demise from global warming. If you don't abort, be sure to send your children to regime-approved educational institutions for the correct indoctrination curriculum to raise the best little Marxist conformists possible and make you proud. This will give them the greatest chance at becoming a future leader, making the world a better place by solving problems like global warming and overpopulation. Be sure to refer to your mother only as a birthing person and teach your children to call you the same if you have a uterus. as you are nothing more than a baby-producing vessel. Obey your liberal leaders. They know what's best for themselves. And look over here. Here's one of the activities you can do. You can help Hunter Biden's girlfriend find a brighter future. That looks fun. What an exciting maze. Will she end up with drug addiction? Perhaps an abortion. Liver damage. That sounds like a good life. Or debt. A lot of debt from college and running up those credit cards by shopping at Sephora and Fendi and Gucci. Treat the evil, unvaccinated grandma killers like lepers with bad haircuts and smelly socks. If you're one of the grandma killers, you'll never get to celebrate Christmas with your family until you're up to date with your shots and properly repent. Obey Dr. Fauci. He is your medical god. Quote him as often as possible to others, and especially on social media. Be sure to stay abreast of his latest statements, so you don't use his old statements that contradict his new statements. Use authority when you talk like him. Always trust the trendy pseudoscience. Get the jab. Look, Hunter Biden did another drawing. I can see why he's been charging so much for his artwork. He's very talented. He did a good job with that sharp needle. He's good with a Sharpie. Probably good with a sharp needle, too. Get the jab. Experimental mRNA vaccines are good for you because Dr. Fauci and Biden say so. Until you get the vaccine, wear a mask to protect the vaccinated. Always vote for far-left extremists. If you don't expect fair, transparent elections. Be sure to leave your ID at home when going to the voting polls to avoid Jim Crow on steroids confronting you at the polls during extended voting hours and days for your inconvenience. Follow this guidance and Jim Eagle will accept your ballot or vote on your behalf. Don't worry. The regime will make sure your vote goes to candidates that will always put themselves and their interests above the common folk, which is good for you. And look at this wonderful crow that Jen Psaki drew. What color will you color that? She did a really good job. I'm surprised. Perhaps she missed her calling. Never be accountable. Make excuses. Lie often. Embrace hyperbole and assumptions. Blame others, especially Trump. Be sure to be a victim. Be oppressed and identify an oppressor to accuse for all your failures. Point your fingers at them. And look at this drawing that Nancy Pelosi did of a hand pointing a finger. I didn't think she could do that. Wow, this guide has been quite the group effort. I'm impressed. Aren't you? Call them names like white supremacists or pedophiles. Accuse them of false crimes. Dox them. Blast them on your social media rants. Be divisive. Point out flaws in others at every opportunity. Use euphemisms whenever possible. Talk in riddles. Play word games. If any of the above doesn't work, or you're confronted with evil logic, call others racist, unless they are black. In which case, call them Uncle Tom. Aunt Jemima will do if it's a black woman. Dispose of your firearms. Self-defense is for domestic terrorists and primitive Neanderthals with unibrows. It's okay to burn things to make a statement. It's fashionable. Don't worry, you won't be arrested because it's a mostly peaceful activity. It's the most democratic way to have your demands heard and granted. Others will be sure to see things your way after striking that match. The open border policy is not a humanitarian crisis and does not pose a risk to Americans and the economy. Whoever told you that is a cross-eyed, window-licking troublemaker. All illegal immigrants are here to be housekeepers and gardeners and work hard while respecting our country and culture. Be sure to change your gender, gender identity, race identity, or identify as a different species altogether, like an alien or alpaca, because the Biden regime doesn't want you to know yourself. Knowing yourself is wrong. Verbally accost anyone who addresses you by the wrong pronoun. Seek out a phobia and choose the one that's best for you. Your ruler recommends Caucasian phobia, Republican phobia, agoraphobia, decidophobia, nomophobia, and phobophobia. Be sure to judge others by their skin color. That is the sum total of who they are, and their skin color alone determines their character. If they're white, take out your aggression on them. If they are brown, do them a favor. If they are black, apologize to them and give them all the money in your bank account. Communism is your friend. Because the Biden regime cares about you, they examined all the isms and found communism to be the best ism for you to live your life to the regime's fullest. Remember always, Biden promises peace, unity, transparency, and free ice cream on Sundays. And he always delivers on his promises. He's an honorable, capable man. Live for the Biden regime. They've earned your loyalty. After all, they selflessly dedicate their lives to controlling your life. Finally, a simplified guide for unity. Now that you have a better understanding of how to live under the Biden regime, you are free to do what they tell you to. Don't forget to take the quiz on the next page to test what you've learned and prove to yourself how smart you are. For bonus fun, get out your crayons and color the magnificent illustrations of your dictator Biden and your medical god Dr. Fauci, and more, and draw a line through the maze from your home to the medical internment camp to show what a good little citizen you are. Lastly, don't forget to virtue signal your obedience in front of others to encourage them to also obey, for the good of the regime and for unity through one-mindedness. That was wonderful, wasn't it? Oh, and the most important lesson, Obey, obey, obey. Now let's look at some of the activities on the back. Ooh, you can draw a route from your house to the COVID medical internment facility. What a nice little maze they had put together here for you. Look at that. And there's much more. You have a fun quiz and more activities in the rest of the book. Wasn't that a great book? That was very comprehensive, and I understand much better now how to conform. I hope you do too. Order your guide today on Amazon, and if you're a Prime member, you can get free shipping fast. Or if you just can't wait and you want to be an early adopter, you can get an instant download with Kindle. Be one of the first 1,597 people to download, and you can get an inflation-busting promo code to work for you. Just use the promo code OBEY today. You can virtue signal that you're one of the early adopters with your Twitter audience. It was very nice to read that story to you. I do hope you enjoyed it. Buddy and I wish you and Adu a farewell, and so do our other friends here. Take care, and we'll see you next time during Story Time with Serenity. Good night.